My first step to English mastery was one sentence, just one sentence. And when I say mastery, I mean speaking English with a near native level of fluency. What does that look like? You can check it out for yourself. All those years I spent trying to master English turned into nothing. Then I came to the US and started studying English again. I tried everything, took classes, used language learning apps, watched YouTube videos, and read books. But still, no matter what I did, my English just wouldn't improve. She was a native speaker who had been involved in teaching English as a second language for decades. I kept replaying every part of my conversation over and over in my mind. This experience changed everything for me. Until that day, I had believed the only way to learn English was by reading grammar books, doing exercises, and memorizing vocabulary lists. That's the way I had studied English in Iran and the US, and it hadn't worked. But after meeting this woman, I began to believe that maybe I had been approaching language learning all wrong. This guy's advice changed my entire perspective on language learning. I discovered that fluency isn't about grammar or vocabulary. It's about practicing and improving your speaking skills. I learned that speaking is the most crucial skill for effective communication, so I practiced it as much as possible. As I mentioned before, I watched a lot of English TV shows to improve my skills. At first, I watched shows with subtitles in Farsi. Then I switched to English subtitles, and eventually I started watching them without subtitles. I had no idea about this common expression used by native speakers. I realized that the English I had learned through studying grammar books and vocabulary lists had many gaps in it. I didn't know much about real English. One day while watching Friends, I heard Chandler say one sentence. I learned phrasal verbs, idioms, double modals, and slang words. And this is how I finally became fluent in English. First, immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. Watch English TV shows, listen to podcasts, and surround yourself with native speakers. Second, find opportunities to talk with native speakers, go to events, join clubs, make friends. Third, focus on learning real English, not just textbook English. Learn phrasal verbs, idioms, slang words, and the way native speakers use the language. If you follow these steps, I promise you will become fluent in English. It was a joke, but I couldn't understand it. So I searched for the transcript of that episode and found the joke. This was the sentence, "Could I be wearing any more clothes?" If you don't know what the show is about, this sentence might not sound funny, but trust me, it was hilarious in the context of the show. Maybe instead of focusing on grammar rules and vocabulary lists, I should focus more on actually speaking. That's how I learned English, that's how I learned Farsi, and that's how you can learn any language. There's simply no substitute for practice. At some point, I had a sudden realization. I realized that I had made 0 mistakes during the whole event. Well, maybe that wasn't true. Instead, find opportunities to talk with native speakers as much as possible. Go to events, join clubs, make friends, watch TV shows and movies in English. Don't worry about whether you're making mistakes or not, just talk. Talk as much as you can. There surely must have been some errors in my pronunciation, right? No, there were no mistakes. The truth was my English was really good. I looked it up in the dictionary, but the dictionary doesn't explain things like that. I didn't know that B could be used like this. And I knew that if I wanted to use this expression correctly, I needed to learn what it means and when to use it. So I researched it on the internet and discovered that this is an example of what native speakers call double modals. It's a grammatically incorrect expression, but it's commonly used in English. For example, could I be wearing any more clothes? Would you be willing to be my wife? Should I be running now? In each of these sentences, be is used twice, once for the auxiliary verb and once as the main verb. Native speakers use this expression to emphasize their statement and make them more poetic. Grammatically, it's incorrect because it uses to modal verbs, but poetically, it sounds beautiful. She told me. You are doing great. Keep up the good work, by the way. Where are you from? I replied, I'm from Iran. She said, your English is amazing. I can hardly tell you have an accent. He was an American dude who had lived in Iran for several years and learned Farsi fluently. He told me how he learned Farsi and became fluent in just a few months. He said, learning a language is not about studying grammar rules and vocabulary. It's about immersing yourself in that language and using it as much as possible. If you want to become fluent in English, you need to immerse yourself in the language. And the best way to do that is by watching TV shows and movies in English, listening to podcasts, and surrounding yourself with native speakers as much as possible. I was very surprised because throughout the event I had been thinking, oh my god, I am making so many mistakes, so I was really shocked when she complimented me on my English. When I arrived in the United States, my spoken English was so bad that people had a hard time understanding me. They thought I was from India or Pakistan. I didn't know any English idioms, phrasal verbs, or even basic vocabulary. And yet somehow my English improved dramatically. I went from barely being able to speak at all to feeling confident enough to talk with anyone about anything. I continued going to events where I could practice my conversational English. I joined Toastmasters, which is a really good organization if you want to improve your public speaking skills. And I started working on becoming a better conversationalist. I told myself, you have wasted so much time on this stupid language. You have failed so many times. It's pointless to continue. While walking down the street, I saw a poster advertising an event called Speed Friending. The poster had a picture of people smiling and shaking hands. I couldn't read English well at the time, but I understood the general idea of the event. From the poster, I learned that it would be a good opportunity to meet new people and practice my English, so I decided to go. In fact, I felt so bad about my English skills that I avoided talking to native speakers as much as possible. So what happened? How did this come about? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Before coming to America, I studied English for years in Iran, but all that learning never helped me improve. I remember distinctly that I was so frustrated one day that I decided to stop learning English altogether. Then one day, after months of struggling, something remarkable happened. That night, I met many friendly people from different countries. Most of them were native speakers. We started chatting and I asked them questions about themselves. I talked about my hometown, my major, why I came to study in the US, and other easy topics. Then we switched tables and I got a chance to meet new people. I repeated the same process. I asked them questions and talked about simple topics. At the end of the night, when everyone was saying goodbye, one of the organizers approached me. After I walked home that night, I couldn't sleep. Of course, I knew my English was better than before, but I didn't know it was this good. So I started taking action based on this new belief. One day, while attending one of these meetings, I met a guy who changed my life. I followed his advice and within a year, my English drastically improved. And here's the most important thing I learned. I realized that the only way to improve my speaking skills was by talking with native speakers. So if you want to improve your English, don't spend your time memorizing useless vocabulary lists or grammar rules. Now let's get to the main topic of the video, which is that one sentence. When I read this sentence, I couldn't understand why be was used twice. This was a significant moment for me because it showed me that despite having studied English for 8 years at that point, there was still so much I didn't know. From that day on, I decided to learn English the way native speakers use it. In summary, if you want to become fluent in English, follow these 3 steps.